Okay. Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos. Good morning, welcome everyone. It's an honor for us to host Marcia Fudge, HUD Secretary, especially during Hispanic Heritage Month. We really are welcome her to our community. Nuestra casa es su casa, Secretary HUD. In a minute you'll hear from her, but I'm also glad to have many of our other distinguished leaders this morning, Congressman Davis, Congressman Garcia, Governor Pritzker, and of course our great Mayor Lightfoot. They will be sharing some few words. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Mayor Lightfoot because we've been working with her on building communities. This kind of project does not happen alone. We need the support of the city, the state, the federal government to make sure that we're building communities, not just buildings. And that is what Casa Querétaro represents. Casa Querétaro used to be a vacant site, a grain elevator, where many in the community had tremendous challenges because it was called a shooting gallery in Pilsen because many young people used to go in there and do drugs. We had deaths in the building, lots of challenges. And here we are many years later, have turned that eyesore facility into a wonderful facility for 45 families that's affordable for working families. Mayor, I'm going to turn over the mic to you.
Thank you, Raul. And I just also want to emphasize the important work that Resurrection Project does in this community. Where we are best is when we follow the lead of community leaders, community stakeholders who understand what the needs are of the community. And I can't think of any better partner than Resurrection Project. This is one of many projects that they put together, and the emphasis on making sure that community values, community residents are preserved. And what you'll note about this and the other projects that Resurrection Project has really put its imprint on is really preserving opportunities for local families to live in affordable, very nice housing. That's critically important. And as Raul said, we agree with him. This has got to be an all-hands-on-deck partnership. You're all aware of the fact that we have significant challenges in this city around affordable housing that we've seen in too many neighborhoods, mine in particular in Logan Square, where when we haven't been intentional, where we haven't worked with community, we see significant displacement. And I'm happy to say that we are turning the tide, but we've got more work to do, and we're always happy to do that in partnership with groups like the Resurrection Project. Let me also say it is a great honor and privilege for us to be on the tour that Secretary Fudge is making across the country to really emphasize the President's initiatives around building back better. We have been fortunate here in the city of Chicago, not only around the tens of millions of dollars that we've been able to put out to help with emergency rental assistance, but also the additional monies that we are proposing through the ARPA funds to continue to build more affordable housing. But if the infrastructure bill and the reconciliation bill get passed, that is going to exponentially increase the opportunities for us to present good, solid, affordable housing options for families. So we're honored that Secretary Fudge is with us here today. Thanking her, thanking our congressional delegation. I mean, we've got the stalwarts here, Congressman Davis, Congressman Garcia, who really understand the importance of making sure that we build communities by making sure that no one has to leave because they can't afford housing. And of course we have our great governor here who also understands the necessity of that partnership. Everything that we do from top to bottom has to be about unity and partnership, and there's no greater calling than making sure that we're creating affordable opportunities for our residents. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much to the mayor for her leadership, and I want to say about everybody that's standing behind me, and especially our great secretary, that it takes partners to get work like this done, to do more for housing across the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, across the nation. And we are partners. We have the federal, state, and local city leadership represented right here, and especially our great Build Back Better agenda leader for housing, and that's Secretary Fudge. We've been very proud in the state of Illinois to be one of the leading states distributing support for housing, particularly rental assistance for people across our state who've been hurt during the pandemic. $443 million has been distributed. 56,000 recipients, landlords and tenants who have benefited from the Build Back Better agenda, from particularly the American Rescue Plan dollars that have come to the state. And we've done such a good job and we're so far ahead of other states that we're now able to ask the federal government to redistribute dollars that are unused from other states to have them come to the state of Illinois. So that's what leadership is about. I finally want to just say that we need to do more of what the Resurrection Project is doing right here. The terrific teamwork, the leadership that Raul has brought, his team behind it. There is much more to do in the neighborhoods of the city of Chicago and all across our state. And so I'm looking forward to expanding our partnership and relationship. And I'm especially grateful to have with us one of the leaders in Congress helping us to get where we need to go through this pandemic to economic recovery for everybody in our state and in our city, Congressman Danny Davis.
Well, thank you very much, and I am delighted to be here this morning, especially at the Resurrection Project, with the outstanding governor of the state of Illinois, a tremendous mayor who has kept us all together during the pandemic and on target, and to be here with my mate. I call him mate because Representative Chuy Garcia and I have been working together for about as long as I can remember. We've lived in the same neighborhoods, essentially worked with the same community groups and organizations, and it's a pleasure to welcome a tremendous leader who has already demonstrated as the mayor of her town, as a tremendous leader in her state, and as chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, the tremendous leadership that she provides. HUD is in what we call great hands. I won't use the old slogan with the insurance company, but we couldn't be in better shape than to have Marcia Fudge at the leadership of housing and urban development. We know that affordable housing for low and moderate income people is one of the great needs of our country. She is leading the way, and I'm so delighted that she is. And Marcia, thank you so much for what you're doing. And it's my pleasure to be here with Chuy Garcia.
Muy buenos días to everyone this morning. For a kid who learned English as a second language and used to ride around in his first bicycle after coming from Mexico and used to visit the old grain silos that were here, this press conference is a dream come true because it underscores the great work of the Resurrection Project and, of course, all of their allies in the community, the local elected officials, Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez and State Representative Teresa Ma, who are also joining us this morning, and everyone who makes this possible. This is Hispanic Heritage Month, and there isn't a better way to celebrate, commemorate, and think about the future than the stakeholders gathered here this morning, committing to build back better communities in Chicago that have been under-resourced and underfunded and have been, in many instances, left behind. Building back better is what we are committed to doing, and this is an example of the type of investments that are needed and will become a reality when Congress enacts the Build Back Better agenda and President Biden signs it. Most importantly, having a Secretary of Housing and Urban Development at the helm is critical to understanding the importance of community development rooted in equity across the country, but especially in neighborhoods like this community. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is an important example of the type of investments and community development projects that are possible when we enact the Build Back Better agenda. I'm just delighted to be a member of the Financial Services Committee, where we've marked up a bill that invests over $330 billion if Congress and when Congress enacts it. That's the potential. This will redefine what public housing is all about. This will increase dramatically the goal that you've set here and that the residents of North Lawndale have set to build 1,000 new affordable housing units in those communities. And we won't stop there. We'll continue to Englewood and other parts of the city of Chicago and in suburban communities as well. This is the potential that we have. This is a great moment in history where things are converging and where everyone is beginning to understand the importance of equity-based community development efforts. And of course, we have a person who can be a great driver in that regard. Let me just say a few words in Spanish. Muy buenos días a todos los que se unen esta mañana para este evento conmemorando el mes de la herencia hispana. No hay una mejor forma de demostrar lo que es la esencia de hogar, la esencia de comunidad y la esencia de lo que es el progreso. El mes de la herencia hispana es donde celebramos los triunfos y también hacemos planes para el futuro, para el desarrollo completo de nuestras comunidades. Y para ello es un gran placer estar aquí con toda la comunidad y tener entre nosotros a la secretaria del Departamento de Desarrollo Urbano y Vivienda de los Estados Unidos. Ella visita a esta comunidad para ver lo que es posible en el futuro. Con los recursos que se designan a esta rama de la economía para construir nuevas viviendas, para reconstruir lo que ha sido el sistema de vivienda público en nuestro país, podemos asegurar que haya buenas casas, buenos hogares y buenas comunidades para toda nuestra gente. Muchísimas gracias. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to Chicago, to the Pilsen community, to a successful community development project, the Honorable Marcia Fudge, Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Welcome, Madam Secretary.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure because we are in a place that people are doing it right. So I want to thank the mayor and thank the governor and know that my former colleagues are going to get back to Washington and do what is right, which is to pass a bill that will allow more communities to resurrect themselves. You know, if I had thought about what resurrection means, Raul, I would see this. Communities that are making it easier for people to live decent lives. We know that the lack of affordable housing in this country is at a crisis. There's nowhere in this country today where a person making minimum wage can even afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Nowhere. We know that renters are behind on their rent because of COVID. But I would say to you, if we cannot fix this now, I do not know if it can be fixed. We have an administration in place that is putting in place all of the things we need to do. Congressman talked about $300 billion. I believe that every single person in this country who wants to own a home should own one. And so what we are doing today is we're making sure that if you are burdened with student loan debt, we are going to neutralize that debt so you can become credit worthy. If you need a down payment on your home, we're going to help you get one. We're going to have mortgages now that are 40 years instead of 30 to help bring down the cost of your mortgage payments monthly. We're doing all we know how to do, as well as we are trying to make sure that we are dealing from a lens of equity by making sure that we root out the systemic racism that has for so long held black people and brown people back from home ownership, the dream of most Americans. And so I just want to say that I am, again, pleased to be here. I want you to know that HUD put about $4 million in this building. And we are very, very happy to say we were a part of something that has been so wonderful. I also want to say that in the President's Build Back Better agenda, I think back on where we were, Mayor, when we went into the pandemic in the beginning, and they said to people, stay home. What if you didn't have a home? They said to people, keep your children home from school and let them learn virtually. What happened if you didn't have broadband or high-speed internet, which many of our communities do not have? They are talking to us about how we can make people's lives better through cleaner water. No one should have to live someplace and be worried about being poisoned by the water in their pipes or the paint on their walls. It is time to make generational and historic change. And if we can't do it now, I don't know that we can do it. And so I want you to know that we know it's hard, but we're not going to give up just because it's hard. So I want to thank, of course, your team, which is outstanding, for the work they do, but to also say this. It is time for America to look up and decide who we are. You know, there's a French historian, his name is Alexis de Tocqueville, who said that America is great not because it is more enlightened than other nations, but that we are great because we have the ability to repair our faults. It is time for America to treat every American with the dignity and respect they are due. And that is what we are here to do, and I'm so very pleased to be with people who want to do the same. Thank you so much.
Let me give you that. I got a woman.
Happy to take any questions from members of the media. Well, let's remember that Ken Griffin brought you Bruce Rauner. Ken Griffin was his biggest supporter. He was also a major supporter of the folks who brought you the insurrection on January 6th and the people who supported Donald Trump, not to mention he was a major supporter. So I think that when someone who was speaking from Florida, when we had the call that he referred to with 20 other people on the call, tells you something that's not true. I think especially somebody who, again, brought you, these characters that have made it so difficult for us to recover and bring our crime levels down, because undermining those underlying resources that are necessary in our communities that were truly decimated under Bruce Rauner, I just think he lacks credibility in every single way. No, nothing personal. In fact, I'm not sure why he made the false remarks that he made. All I can say is that I am very focused on the safety and security of the people of the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois. I've increased significantly the resources, trying to build back from what Bruce Rauner did with the support of Ken Griffin to our state by increasing dollars to violence interruption, violence prevention programs, by investing in our communities. There's so much that we've had to do to kind of rebuild, and we continue to do that. This year, in fact, by this year in my administration, I've been in office about 2.5 years, we have now doubled the amount of money going into violence prevention and interruption programs. And not to mention that I've done more than I think any other governor in at least a couple of decades now to rebuild our state police, which went from 3,000 officers down to 1,900, in fact below 1,900. We've now had new classes of police coming to becoming troopers in our Illinois State Police, and of course building a new forensics lab, reducing, almost eliminating the rape kit backlog that existed. There's so much more that we're doing to keep people safe. And to try to bring this crime level down. But it does take a business community like Ken Griffin belongs to, working with a city with the support of all the resources that we're bringing from the state level in order to bring down those crime levels. And so coordinate, please, all of you. I hope that he will step up and help.
We have time for one more.
Well, again, we put tremendous resources forward to be of support. I have always provided state police and National Guard when called upon by the city. When we don't hear of the need from the city, even though we are offering it, then we don't provide it. You can't just, march people in without coordinating with the Chicago Police Department. So I do believe in that coordination effort. I am regularly in contact with state's attorneys across the state, and particularly the one in Cook County, and with the leaders of our court system. And so I want to make sure that we are coordinating all the resources necessary to bring down crime in the city of Chicago. Look, we are nearly at a state of emergency in our need to address crime. We are doing everything at the state level. I asked the state reps that we worked with on dealing with it during the last couple of sessions of the legislature. They can tell you we're very concerned about it at the state level and providing resources at the local level, not just to Chicago, but to Rockford and other places around the state. But we need local leadership, including the corporate leadership, to step up and help our cities.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Great. No, I'm glad to have it on topic. Yeah.
How do you ensure that projects like this, and if you spend millions of dollars on public housing in the state, that it doesn't become something down the road that resembles really great material?
Well, I think a lot's been learned since the building of those massive projects, right? Those are decades and decades ago that those were put up. And I think what we've learned, and the state, the city, the nation has learned, is that low-rise, smaller communities, but spread out, giving people an opportunity to live not just in, cloistered in one area of the city, but across the city in facilities that are well built. I think that is one of the things that we've learned, and making sure that there is stability for people, that they have the ability to access this kind of thing, and that we have enough of it available. It's expensive to build housing, there's no doubt about it, but in the private meeting that we just had, lots of the conversation was, how do we put all the resources together that are available at the state level, the federal level, the city level, county level, so that we can do more projects like this, because this was multiple levels of government working together. So I'm looking forward to the Build Back Better agenda getting passed, because those resources being brought to our state, to our cities, to our counties will help.
Well, thank you. That's it. That's all we have time for.
What's that, the price tag?
Concerns about the price tag of the plan. It's huge.
You're talking about the Build Back Better agenda in Washington?
Secretary Fudge said if we can't do it now, we won't be able to do it.
What?
Concerns about the price tag?
My greatest concern is that we should do it now. We need it now because we're all still recovering from the pandemic. The pandemic's still here. We still have a significant suppression of our economy that exists all over the nation as a result of the pandemic. And so this is the moment when we should be addressing these sorts of problems. By the way, in the state of Illinois, I'm very optimistic that we are investing in the foundational things that will carry us to great economic growth going forward as the pandemic subsides. Thank you.
partnering with them.
And we'll head down. We're going to tour vacant units, so we'll take a go down there, do a quick over there, see one of the units, and.
This is wonderful.
Can I get everyone right here, please? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
This is a 2-bedroom apartment, but just to give a perspective, we have to be challenged with gentrification pressures. Today, prices in